In this video, I'm going to share with you some incredibly valuable information about a powerful property investing tool which you can use to become a more successful investor, but actually 99% of other investors are completely unaware of this investing tool. And in fact, even those people who think they know about it often really don't understand it, which means they are missing out a huge opportunity. So by listening carefully to this training, you're going to be a more successful investor. So my name is Simon Zutshi. I'm the founder of the Property Investors Network, which is the largest network of property investors in the UK, the longest running one as well. I'm the author of Property Magic, the Amazon #1 property bestseller, and I've been investing in property for over 26 years. And I first discovered what I'm going to teach you in this video in about 2006. And I'd actually made a mistake. You see, at the time, I was buying property below market value. I was buying it with same-day refinancing, which meant it was pretty much a no money down deal. It was something I'd learnt from other investors at my property network meetings. And that's why it's a really good idea to connect and learn from other people. And so I bought this property, or I was trying to buy this property, but unfortunately there was a problem. It was actually an apartment, a flat, that was a freehold flat. And because it was freehold, at the time it was very difficult to get a mortgage on it. So I'd stepped in, this person was about to lose it, they're going to get repossessed, they'd moved out of the property. I cleared the arrears for them and I committed to pay the mortgage until I bought the property. And that took a bit of time because I just couldn't get a mortgage. So instead I decided to sell the property on. Now luckily my solicitor, who was acting for me in the transaction, said, Simon, if you're going to pay off their mortgage, you need to have some sort of document to protect yourself so they can't turn around and not sell you the property. So my solicitor put together what's called a purchase option. It meant I had the right to buy the property within a certain time frame for the price agreed. And it was very lucky because although I couldn't buy it, I was able to sign that contract onto someone else. So something that could have cost me several thousand of pounds by making a mistake, luckily it actually made me several thousand pounds because I was able to find a cash buyer who was very happy to buy this property because it was in a lovely former military barracks and they used it as service accommodation. So I kind of discovered this by mistake. Then I realized that this is actually a tool that people use, but it's not many people know about it. And so I'm going to talk about purchase options and purchase lease options. Now, if you already have some property, you've been investing for a while, there's a good chance you might have heard of purchase options and also lease options. But I would suggest that if you haven't actually used them with your property investing yet, maybe you don't know enough. I'm all the time bumping into people who think they know what purchase lease options are. They might have done some training with someone else who frankly hasn't really explained it very well, and they have a misconception about exactly what these are. They are just a tool that you can use to acquire more property. And the reason you might use this tool is because you don't need to get a mortgage, you don't need to put big deposit in. So what happens with many investors when they're buying property, they get to a point where they run out of their own money and they think they have to stop. Well, using these tools, actually you don't have to stop. You can still acquire lots of property. Now, just to be really clear, I'm not saying that these powerful tools work in all circumstances. In fact, there are only a few circumstances where they work very well. But in those circumstances, they work incredibly well, such that you can control a property, get cash flow and equity growth from a property you don't own, you don't need a deposit, and you don't need a mortgage. I explain a lot of detail in this video exactly how you can use these powerful tools with your property investing. Now, I don't want to make any assumptions because I don't know who's going to be watching this video. So what I'll invite you to do is have a really open mind, and I'm going to go back to the basics and explain exactly what are purchase options and also lease options and how can you use them with your property investing. And I'm going to make this as simple as possible to make sure you not only understand it, but you can go and implement this valuable information. So first of all, what is a purchase option? So this is where you find someone who's got a property or maybe a piece of land, something they want to sell. And it's very important to understand that this particular seller, they don't want the asset anymore. That's why they want to sell it. But they don't necessarily need the money from the sale straight away. Now we're going to come back to that point later on, but I did want to mention it right now. And then we agree that we can buy that asset at some time in the future. It's over a period of time called the option period. And we agree a price, which is the option price, and we fix that price right now. And any time within that period, we have the right to buy that asset. And also, we want to make sure that asset is assignable so we can pass it on to someone else if we decide that we don't want to buy it. Now, this is really important because what it means is the seller cannot sell to anyone else. If we want to buy it, we can buy it for that price within that time period. The seller cannot sell to anyone else. We have exclusivity. Now, the good thing is that we have the right to buy, but not the obligation to buy. That's why it's called an option, the choice to or not to. So the option to buy, but not the obligation. So if we want to walk away and not buy, we can absolutely do that. Now, how and when might we want to use this purchase option tool? So let's say you find a building that you can add value to. You can take maybe a normal house and turn it into an HMO, a house of multiple occupation. Or maybe you find a house that's got a large plot and you could chop part of it off and have a separate dwelling and do a new build development. Or maybe it's a commercial building, offices you want to turn into apartments. So these are things that generally you would need to get planning permission on. Now, you may or may not know this, but even if you don't own an asset, you can apply for planning permission for some improvements to that property. However, only the owner can actually utilize that planning change. So let's say you spot a property that's got potential to build in the garden. What you would not want to do is to say to the owner, I'd like to buy this property. Oh, by the way, I'm just going to get some planning to build in the garden, because obviously you're then highlighting to the owner how the value of their property is going to go up once the planning's in place. So you might say, I want to buy this, get the planning, come back, and they say, oh, well, you can buy, but suddenly the price has gone up. So what you do instead is you agree the purchase price in advance. You get a period of time that buys you the opportunity to do what you need to do to get the planning in place. Once you've got the planning, you know you can follow through your plan, then you come and buy the property at the agreed price, even though you might have increased the value. Now listen very carefully. This is what we call adding value before purchase. And if you have a significant increase in value, there are a few creative ways that actually you can get a mortgage finance based on the higher value instead of the purchase price. So some of my clients have used this to find an opportunity, maybe an office block. They get planning permission to convert into apartments. With planning permission, the value is much higher than the purchase price. They've been able to secure finance based on the value, which means they've had to put a very small amount of money in to actually buy the property, and then they've been able to borrow all the money to do the development as well. So this is one of the ways we can do a very low money down funding of a purchase. So that's one way we can use a purchase option to buy us time to get planning permission. The other thing that we can do is, have you ever seen a property advertised that says cash only buyer? Now, normally that means that this particular property, it's not possible to get a mortgage on it for a number of reasons, so the buyer has to buy with cash. And the reality is there aren't as many cash buyers in the market as there are people who'll put a bit of money in and get a mortgage. So for that reason, anything that's listed as cash only is normally a lower price than the normal market. So most investors would ignore that cash only property because they think, well, I've not got cash and I don't want to tie cash up in just one property. So for that reason, the price is lower and there aren't as many offers on that. Now, let's think about the reasons why that property is maybe not mortgageable. Well, maybe it isn't habitable. Maybe it doesn't have a kitchen or bathroom, so you can't really live there. You wouldn't get a mortgage. Maybe there's some sort of structural problems like subsidence where the building has been sinking into the ground. It happens with many, many buildings and it can be fixed. But once it's got that problem, you can't get a mortgage until it's fixed. And then also maybe there's a short lease. So in the UK, we have leasehold and freehold property. When you have a leasehold, you're buying a unit from the freeholder for a period of time, 125, 150 years. But as that lease gets shorter and shorter, it's harder to get a mortgage. Such that if you have a property with less than 70 years on a lease, then you can't get a mortgage. But the current owner can extend the lease, and that will increase the value of the property because suddenly people can buy with a mortgage. But many owners don't do that because they don't know what to do, they don't have the money to extend the lease. So in all of these three situations, cash buyers are normally the only way forward. That's what the seller thinks, and that's what the estate agent selling the property also thinks. But this is another way that we can use a purchase option. We can, again, use it to buy us time. So we can agree to come in and buy the property at the cash price, which is going to be lower than the true market value, on the condition we've got a period of time to actually buy that property. And in that time, we can get the problem fixed. We can extend the length of the lease. We can get access to the property and put a kitchen or bathroom in, make it habitable. We can get subsidence fixed. That means that the property will then become mortgageable, and although we're buying at a price down here, the value might be up here. So again, it minimizes the amount of money we have to put into the property. And then the final way, just for this particular video, I want to share with you how we can use a purchase option, is if you are sourcing property deals to sell to other people. Now, this is something that a lot of people who are new to property do, because you can go and find great deals, you can sell them to other investors, and the fees you make when selling deals can be used for the deposits for the properties that you want to keep. And also, many experienced investors who are really good at finding deals recognize they're going to keep the best deals for themselves, but the ones they don't want, as long as they're good deals, they can sell them to other investors. Now, if we go to a seller and we agree to buy the property and we're not going to buy it ourselves, we're going to sell it on to someone else, well, we need some time to do that. So again, a purchase option will give you the opportunity to lock out the competition. It's often called a lockout agreement. It's basically a purchase option, which is saying you've got the right to buy or assign on to someone else at a fixed price. Now, it's not going to be a long amount of time because the owner's going to want to sell the property. They're probably going to be a motivated seller. That's why we're buying at a discount or we've got some creative deal. And so you need to act quickly, but this lockout agreement gives you time to find someone to sell that property onto so that the owner can't sell it to someone else. So these are just some of the ways that you can use a purchase option in your property investing to be more successful. And the reality is most people do not know how to do this properly. So you're going to have a massive competitive advantage now that you're aware of this. Now, if we take this one step further and we look at what's called a purchase lease option. So you'll notice it's got the extra word, which is lease. So purchase lease option. What that means is it's the same as a purchase option in that we've got the right to buy this property at a fixed price over a certain period of time, but also there's this lease element. So we're going to pay a monthly fee to the owner, and in return, we're going to get to use the property. Now, either you can live in the property yourself and just pay a rent to the owner, or, this is what most investors do, you rent the property out to someone else. Now, the whole point is what you pay the owner is only going to be a certain amount. Often it's their mortgage and maybe a bit more, and then you rent it out for more money. So what this means is you can actually take on a property that you don't own. It stays in the owner's name. If there's a mortgage, the mortgage stays in their name. You pay a guaranteed rent to the owner every single month, which is why they like it. It's nice and safe for them. You rent out for more money and you make a profit on that property. Let's say you find a property that might be an HMO. So it's already set up as an HMO, a house of multiple occupation. It's licensed for that. And this landlord might be a distant landlord, they're out of town, they can't really manage it on their own, they're not doing a very good job, and maybe it's only half full. Or maybe it's a student property and they had some students lined up, but for whatever reason the group of students fell out and they've now not moved into this property, and you've got this landlord who's got an empty property and they're thinking, my God, this student property is going to be empty for the rest of the year. So we're looking for people who've got problems. That's the whole point. There's a problem and they just don't want this problem. They don't want the hassle anymore, and we can step in and help. So we step in, we give them a guaranteed rental income, and actually they might say, you know what, I'm happy to sell this property. Now, if they sold the property, they'd get the money to put in the bank, but they'd get no more rental income. So the fact that we're going to give them less than they'd get normally is okay, because if they sold, they get no income at all. So it's all about structuring this in a win-win deal. And again, if this is all a bit new to you, that's okay. You can watch this video again. I've actually got 2 further videos that can go into more depth and explain exactly how you can use this. But let me give you some very quick numbers. Let's say you take on a property that the owner wants to sell. They really don't want the hassle anymore. And they know if they sold, they get no income at all. But actually, we can offer them a price that works for them. Instead of trying to buy at a discount, we offer them the full market price, and we're going to buy it in 5 years' time. And in the meantime, we're going to take away the hassle. We're going to give them enough money to cover their mortgage and a little bit of extra profit with no work at all. It can be a great solution for them, and something that could make you really good money. £1,000 a month or so. Let's say you're renting for $2,100, you're paying bills of $500, you're paying $600 the owner. There could be £1,000 left over for you every single month. That's £12,000 a year over a 5-year option period. That's £60,000 of income on a property that you don't even own. And obviously, agreeing a price today, hopefully there'll be some good capital appreciation over those 5 years, and you can also benefit from our equity growth. Now, the benefit of this, if you haven't already worked it out, is that you're going to get cash flow and equity growth from a property that you don't even own. And you haven't had to put in a big deposit. You haven't even had to get a mortgage. You're just bringing your specialist knowledge to help this landlord solve their problem and make money as well. A lot of people, when they hear about purchase lease options, they think, oh, they've got to be cheap properties up north, ones in negative equity. That's where the mortgage is more than the value of the property. And people think that's the only time you can use these. And yes, you can use purchase options in that particular circumstance. That seller's got a problem, they can't get rid of the property, and we're prepared to pay more than the current value, because in a few years' time, there should be some good growth. But there's so much more to purchase these options than that. Let me give you an example. You might get someone who maybe inherits a property, and the property is the other side of the country because they've got a parent, elderly parent who's lived there for many, many years. Maybe it needs some work doing to it, and they don't have the money to do the work. But, it's not cost them anything, this property. There's no mortgage on it, and when they sell it, they're just going to put the money in the bank. So we can actually go to that person and say, look, I can give you more money for a purchase price, and rather than putting the money in the bank and selling it and getting nothing on your money, we can give you a monthly income. If you add that monthly income to what we're paying you, you're getting far more for the property doing it this way than if you sell it conventionally. And so it's about helping the seller understand how we've got a better solution for them that is also a good solution for you as well. And so in that case, there's no mortgage at all. There's loads of equity in the property, and there's no mortgage companies to deal with, so it makes it very easy. So, this is what I wanted to get across to you, that there are certain people for whom options, purchase option or purchase option, it's a great solution for them. It's a very powerful tool for you to control property that you don't actually own. Now, I mentioned earlier that it's important that this person doesn't need the money now. And I just want to explain this briefly. You see, there are 2 groups of people who want to sell property. The first group, which is the biggest group, people who are selling a property because they need the money now. They need to pay for their daughter's wedding, or they need to pay off another debt, or they're clearing their own home mortgage, or they want to invest in a business, or they want to buy cryptocurrency. Whatever the reason, they're doing it because they need some money now. That's why they're selling the property. For these people, a purchase option or purchase option would not work, because we're saying we'll buy it sometime in the future, and actually they need the money now. And so many people, when they hear about purchase lease options, whether they're complete newbies or experienced investors, they try and use these powerful tools in the wrong circumstances. They try and do an option where the person needs the money, and an option's never really going to work. And so they try and do a few deals, they get knocked back, they get lots of no's, they think, oh, this doesn't work. And that's a real shame. It does work when you have the right circumstances. So there's this second group of people who might be selling property. It's a much smaller group than the first group, but this second group have got a property that they don't want, or maybe properties, maybe they've got a portfolio of properties, maybe they're a retiring landlord. They don't want the properties anymore. Now, there may or may not be equity in the property, but the point is that this second group of people are not selling the property because they need to access the money. They're selling the property because they don't want the hassle of the property, they don't want the liability, they don't want the responsibility. So by us coming in and saying, look, we will buy the property and you can step away and forget about it and we'll take care of everything for you, it's taking away the problem. And if you solve someone else's problem, if you give them what they want, they're going to be far more flexible to give you what you want. And we're always looking for this win-win that's going to help all people. So we're looking for people who have got property where when they sell it, they're probably just going to stick money in the bank, which, as we know right now, is not going to give you a great return on investment. Now, in my next video, because I'm going to do this series of 3 videos, my next video, I'm going to talk specifically about how you can actually find these people and what you say to them so that they want to give their properties to you. Look, most people selling a property, they're in group 1, they want the money now, they're not going to do a purchase option or purchase lease option. It's a small minority of people, but given that there are a couple of million landlords in the UK, landlords are perfect people to do this with. Why? Because sometimes they're an accidental landlord, they've got a property that's the other side of the country, they're not really interested. Obviously, landlords die. We all die at some point, and they might pass a property on to a family member who has no interest in managing this property, just wants to get rid of it. Or it could be a retiring landlord, someone who's been investing for 20, 30 years, they've done really well from property, and their job is full-time managing their portfolio. It gets to a point where they're just getting too old. They don't want to do it anymore. Maybe their kids don't want to take on the business. So instead, they decide to sell the portfolio. And it's done really well. They've had great income. It's had great capital growth. They've done really well as property investors. But it's time to move on and do something else now. They are perfect people that we can help. And you know what? We had a national property investor network meeting in December 2021. And some of the panel of experts, we had Sally Lawson, who's the former head of ALA, the Association of Residential Letting Agents. We had Paul Champlina from the TV, founder of Landlord Action. And both of them agreed with me that we believe over the next year, we're going to see many, many landlords who are looking to retire, who are just fed up, they want to give in, because actually there's all this new legislation coming in. It's far more stricter than it used to be. And a lot of people are saying, you know what, I've done really well. Now it's time to cash in my chips and sell some of these properties. So we believe there are going to be a lot more landlords over the next year or so looking to sell their property. Now, the problem is most landlords are over optimistic about how much their property's worth. And as investors, normally we want to buy something below market value if we possibly can. And landlords want to get as much as they can. Using purchase lease options, we can actually give the landlord far more than they would get if they just did a traditional sale. And I'm going to cover a lot more about that specifically in video number 3. Because you know what? No one knows what's going to happen in 2022. Some people believe we're going to continue this property boom. Some people think it's going to level out. Some people think there's going to be a market correction. Being honest with you, I have no idea what's going to happen. However, I'm going to explain in video 3, it doesn't matter what happens to the market. There are ways that we can use these powerful tools that most investors are completely unaware of, or if they know about them, they don't know how to use them, and we can get a massive competitive advantage. And I'm going to share that with you in video number 3. So as someone who's been investing in property for a while now, hopefully you can see how powerful this could be for you to not only acquire more property, but step up to the next level. Maybe you've been doing single lets or maybe doing HMOs. Maybe you want to start thinking about doing development. Well, in fact, purchase options come from the world of development and commercial property. All the big land owners, they don't buy land, they get purchase options to control the land, they get planning, then they develop. If you're looking to do commercial to residential conversions, which is something that more experienced investors should be looking at, great opportunity in 2022 to do this. Most of those can be secured on purchase options to give you the time to get the planning in place. And also, if you want to get more property in 2022, rather than just buying one or two single properties, why not find landlords who've got whole portfolios that you can pick up? One landlord and one portfolio could smash your entire 2022 property goals. So as a more experienced investor, you should absolutely be using these powerful tools as part of your investing toolkit. I do hope you've enjoyed this first video. Please do comment below and we'll come back and answer as many as we can. And if you've got questions, put them in the comments below, because I want to look at the questions and use them for the next video, which is going to release in the next few days. So come and comment straight away. Tell me your thoughts, ask questions. I'm going to answer as many of those as I possibly can. And if you've got any family and friends who might want to benefit, please share this on social media so they can also come and watch and benefit from this video. So until the next video, I encourage you to invest with knowledge, invest with skill. Before you go though, I'd also like you to like this video. And also, if you've not subscribed to my YouTube channel, come and subscribe, because it means what you're going to do is you're going to get access to these videos as soon as they come out. Now, I've got another 2 videos that we're going to release. If you'd like to get access to those 2 videos, there's going to be a link down below. Come and fill in the details and get access. It's completely free online training all about how you can actually find people who will do these options with you, and also how you can use this and get a massive competitive advantage in the 2022 property investing market. So click on the link below, come and register for this complimentary training. I look forward to seeing you very soon in video number 2. Hey, I do hope you've got massive value from watching this and the other videos on this YouTube channel. I've prepared some extra training all about purchase lease options, which is the most powerful tool you could use to control property and works with every other property strategy. You really do need to make sure you understand about this. That's why I put this extra training together for you at no cost. All you have to do is click on the link below the video, come and fill in the details, and you get access to that training. And I really think you should definitely do it right now. I've also lined up another video for you that I think might be interesting for you to watch as well. So until the next video, remember to invest with knowledge, invest with skill, and click on the link and come and join me for that additional training all about purchase lease options.